What's up, you beautiful people? It is your boy Trey from Trey's Trades, back in the armpit of the United States. As you can tell, we have the OG lamp, the OG Subway cup, the OG mugs. Cooking with Crisco sitting here on the desk. I gotta lie, I'd be a little bit sad if I said that I'm back in this hotel room, but that's okay. That's all right. We'll be back in North Carolina eventually. It is gonna be the home residence, but as you can see, we want to go over some AMC news here. This is obviously something I was not able to talk about yesterday for when it actually came out. It was Friday, right? I was driving the entire day, but nonetheless, we're going to dig into this right now. First, I want to say, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor. It's not financial advice. You know the whole deal. Take what I say with a grain of salt. So, as per usual, let's get into the video. So as you can see here, AMC had a huge seller, and that was Wanda, right? And the way this is being painted, and some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the FUD that's been spread by a lot of the mainstream media, and honestly, you know, some of the bots that I think are ingrained in the AMC community, because believe it or not, I can nearly guarantee you, there are bots that are ingrained in the AMC community to try and sway you away from opinions, right? The good opinions, the truth, the facts, the actual tangible things on AMC. We have good news here, right? There really is. So as you can see here, Wanda sold its stake over the past week. They sold a lot of their shares on Friday, leading into Friday, right? As you can see here, it comes out from May 13th through May 18th. They sold about 30.4 million shares with about 10,000 total shares remaining. And I kind of want to speak on what I think this ended up doing to the overall price action. And then I want to show you some other stuff that Adam Aaron had to say. And honestly, my closing thoughts on the truth of what's been going on here. So, right, what this comes out to, if you look at this, May 13th through May 18th, right? What does this line up to? It lines up very, very well with this $14 touch point, right? So you can see $14, $14, $14, $15.80. Then you've got the 18th, this last day where we consolidated. And after that, it sold off pretty hard. So we don't know if they ended up contributing in the least bit to this overall sell-off that we saw leading into May 19th. They likely didn't, since we see that, you know, they didn't end up selling their shares on the 19th. However, that would just validate to me that there is some shorting that has been taking place. So I kind of want to give you two thoughts, right? There were some things that were taking place over the last week that we were a little bit confused about. Short interest was going down on paper, right, on Ortex, and the price wasn't going up. And if you come over here to Ortex and look at the overall data, right, just add up the math, you can see that there was a decent amount of shares on loan that ended up getting returned. We're sitting at about 124 million total shares on loan as it sits right now. It was previously at 146 million about a week ago. Well, Wanda sold about 30 million shares, and the short interest has gone down, obviously in tandem with that free float on loan going down as well. So what I think is that Wanda selling shares ended up negating that cover effect that you would see typically on shorts covering positions. And that's kind of why you didn't see that clean break over $14.50. In fact, this hypothesis came originally from Joshua James on Twitter. He actually guessed that this is exactly why we didn't get that break over $14.50 before the 13Fs even came out, and it was revealed that Wanda even ended up selling shares on AMC Stock. So I think this is why we didn't get a clean break over $14.50. And there's actually good news in this, and it is this, right? Obviously, there was somebody who purchased those 30 million shares if they sold them. In every single transaction, every single trade, there is a buyer and there is a seller. If Wanda sold 30 million shares, there has to be a buyer that was able to buy those 30 million shares. You know what that is? It's likely retail investors. It's likely the apes, man. It really, truly, truly, truly is. It's just more shares that are in the hands of retail investors. And Adam Aaron has actually spoken on this, right? With no controlling shareholder in place, now AMC will be governed just as is most other publicly traded companies with a wide array of shareholders. And what does he mean by this? Well, it's very, very freaking apparent, right? We know that there's over 3.2 million total shareholders that have stake in AMC stock as it sits right now, right? And it's likely higher than that because Adam Aaron has actually said in a DM to a different ape out there that is only including US and Canada. So this is not including anybody in Europe, Asia, Africa, right? A wide array of different places who likely have AMC shareholders and investors, right? So 30 million shares in the hands of apes. What does this actually end up doing, right? Well, in the short term, yes, we didn't get that break over $14.50. Another adverse effect may be if you don't have enough runway on call options, you might have those that don't expire in the money, which is why we say two things, right? We say, hey, you need to give yourself a decent amount of runway if you want to play call options because they're risky and you don't know some of the things that can happen, right? That's why we give ourselves a further expiration and pay decent premium so that if things don't go to plan, you have time for them to come in the money and at least hold on to some of that intrinsic value. And secondly, there are uncontrollable factors in the stock market, such as Wanda selling some of their shares. But like I said, this is good news, not bad news. And it is because of this, right? It raises the ceiling, the overall ceiling, and the controllable factors for the apes, right? I truly 100% believe that Wanda getting out of their stake, their shareholder stake in AMC, it just means that we have more control over the float, right? Which means ultimately, this is the whole hypothesis behind the squeeze, guys. It is the fact that we get to decide as individual retail investors how high it goes. And that is because we control the float, right? The more shares in the hands of retail investors, in the apes' hands, the more likely you are to see, that overall ceiling that you are hoping to look for, right? So the fact that Wanda's gotten out does not bother me in the least bit. In fact, I am absolutely jacked about it. I couldn't be more excited because this is, like I said, it just gives us more leeway and more actual control over what is taking place in the overall stock market. So that's kind of some of the fun that I've seen going on with the overall, Wanda selling thing. The way the media paints stuff is absolutely freaking bananas, absurd. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, in a normal world, yes, a huge shareholder selling off stake in a stock, right? That would scare the crap out of you. But there's a lot of, political stuff that's going on in China. I'm not going to get into that too much. That could be the actual reason why Wanda has been unwinding on their shares. So that's kind of why I think Wanda has been unwinding. This is why we didn't see them push over $14.50, and it does explain why, hey, we had a lot of shares on loan that were returned, but didn't see the push up in price action, that should be associated with that sort of return in shares. It's likely because Wanda ended up selling, 30 million shares of their stake. However, there is one last thing that I want to say, and that's that they still have a small stake in AMC stock. Now, why would they get out? You can see some pros and some cons here. Pros, what would be some possible pros? Well, they could be anticipating that there might be a nice push in price action over the next, who knows, couple weeks, month, 2 months, in which they'd be able to capitalize and sell the last of their 10,000 shares to make a little bit of profit. That's a pro, right? What's the con? Well, the worst case scenario is that held onto those 10,000 shares for absolutely no reason. And if they sell them, 10,000 shares is nothing. There are some people out there who own 10,000 shares, some apes out there. That would get scooped up in the blink of an eye. Right? It wouldn't make any difference in the price action if they were to sell that. So I really don't see any downside of them holding those last 10,000 shares. Nonetheless, that's kind of what we've seen cooking up here with AMC, and I want to get into, the technicals now, since we kind of have a brief understanding of what has been going on with Wanda and them selling their actual stock in the company. So as you can see here, we've been kind of trading back and forth between this overall Fibonacci retracement, and the Fibonacci retracement comes out to about this $12 mark to about $12.80, right? You can see that it's been bouncing back and forth, mostly staying above $12.25 because this was a previous level of support. However, that $12 retracement does come out to that 61.8% retracement on the Fibonacci. So if you were to draw up this Fibonacci retracement here really quick, you can see that it lines up pretty dang well with that $12 mark, right? So we hypothesized this here at the channel quite a while ago, saying, hey, I think if this pulls back, if we don't end up getting that clean break over $14.50, you're likely going to see this trade back and forth and consolidate in this Fibonacci retracement zone between $12 and $12.80 until it ultimately ends up getting some momentum and bullish action back towards that $14 range. Do I know if it's going to come back to that $14 range here tomorrow? I don't. I can't tell you that, right? But I can give you some hypothesis and I can give you some thoughts that I have in regards to what you might be able to see, right? So ultimately, we're still looking at $14.50 as the ultimate technical breakout level to get us some beautiful bullish momentum and back up to that $15, $16, $18, $20, $25, $30 range, right? That's going to be, to me, the catalyst of the squeeze, unless some huge breaking news catalyst comes out here in the near future that is going to push it, outside of just technicals. Because as we all know, news catalysts will always trump the technical setup on any given stock, right? But even still saying that, if you're just living in a vacuum, looking at AMC chart as it is with absolutely nothing else to know, this is what we've got cooking up right now, right? We're still trading in this Fibonacci retracement zone, this 61.8 to 50% retracement. What I see next is a level of resistance at $12.80, which is ultimately going to bring us, if we break that, to this $14 range, and then $14.50 as the ultimate breakout level. So what could end up happening, right? Well, what I'm hoping for is that we continue to consolidate in this overall zone. You might not even get a clean break on this first try. We've seen that has tried to break it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and typically in AMC's trends and history, we see that it gets clean breaks on 4 tries of any level of resistance. You can see it here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 times to touch that $14.50-ish mark, got a clean break, ended up moving up, right? You can see it right here. 1, 2, 3 different times that it tried breaking about 1056, got a clean break up. You can see it back here, right? 1, 2, 3 times that it tried to break about 968, 4th move, got to break up. That's a trend that has repeated itself. Holy Toledo. That was a weird sneeze. What the heck was that? Excuse me. So with that being said, we can see that it's tested this for, I thought it was 4 times, but it hasn't been. 1, 2, no, it has been 3 times anyways. So 3 different times that it's tried breaking $12.80. So what I'm hoping for is this, right? A 4th test, and I think this 4th test is going to get it. I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't know when it's going to happen. It could happen immediately at market open. It could take 2 days. But ultimately, it's this. We're going to retest $12.80, and I think this 4th time is going to get it, right? We've seen that before. We've seen that it takes typically 4 times to get a clean break over any level of resistance on the AMC charts, and that is a trend that is 3, 4, 5 times. That's not a coincidence, right? That is proof. That's things that we can actually define and say, moving forward, this is something that we might be able to expect. So this 4th time that we test 1280, I'm thinking we're going to get a clean break. And a clean break looks something like this. Wide range candle bar, 1 hour candle that opens with lots of volume that falls through, right? Get a clean break over it. There's no hesitation. You don't get something like this. You don't want a wick, right? You don't want a 1 hour wick. That's not a breakout. So looking for a 1 hour candle that opens above or closes above that overall level of resistance, right? So ultimately, next couple of days, I think this next week is going to be overall bullish unless the second case scenario comes to fruition, which I don't think is very likely, but we'll pan it out either way. So if it does not get this clean break over 1280, what'll happen instead is it's going to break that $12 mark. And where's the next level of support from that $12 mark? It's about 1067. Now, I find it very, very unlikely that it comes down to 1067, but we do want to prepare for the worst case scenario if that is to come to fruition. The reason I don't think it's very likely is because if you look at the daily candles, right, you can see that we ultimately continue to set higher lows and higher highs very, very regularly leading up to this $14.50 level of resistance. That is going to bring us to where we want to go. Higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? And it's very high separation between this and this zone right here. So ultimately, if it does pull back, it is possible, right? I can't guarantee anything, but if it does, I think you really are looking at that $10, that $10 and some change mark where it'll ultimately pull back to if it were to do that, right? So that's kind of the less likely scenario. More likely scenario to me is that you do see that test of 1280. It might take a day, it might take 2 days, right? And a clean break, which is ultimately going to get us up to this $14 range. And I'll say this every single time, right? You're looking for rips, hard pushes up and above, followed by periods of consolidation, right? So a hard rip above, and you're ultimately going to see it trade sideways. And sideways doesn't mean that it's going to barcode, right? Barcoding typically means that it just, trades back and forth for penny spreads over and over and over. That's not healthy price action. You don't like seeing that. Consolidation means that it trades back and forth between a zone, like you see right here. This is consolidation. This is consolidation between $12 and $12.80. And since the grand scheme of things, this is bullish, right? It's continuously setting higher lows and higher highs. That is bullish, right? You do like to see that. So ultimately, that's what I want. I want to push over 1280, right? A nice rip above, back in that 1350 range, and consolidation for 1, 2, 3 days, whatever it takes, to get back up to that $14 range and ultimately test 1450. That to me is the most likely scenario. Like I said, if it does not get that push, I think it's going to ultimately break this $12 level of support and ultimately come down and test this $10.30-ish cent level of support, right? I am absolutely 100% bullish on AMC as it sits right now. Obviously, I really enjoy seeing that Wanda is honestly, I don't mind them being out, right? They can get out. Let them out, right? Because apes have so much freaking power. We live in a new time in the market. The old school fundamental analysis style of the market, the time of freaking, hey, we pay attention to what a company was worth, this last quarter, last year, last 2 years. We're moving into this now. There's bulls, there's bears, and now we've got freaking apes. They say bulls make money, pigs make money, bulls make money, bears make money, pigs get slaughtered. But now you've got bulls make money, bears make money, and the freaking apes make squeezes happen. So that's what I'm watching for here, guys. It's a good day here on Sunday. That's what I've got for the video. So thanks for watching, my friends, my family, my fellow gorilla gang, blah, blah, blah. Drop a like, consider subscribing, whatever you want to do. Catch you on the next one. Much love and peace.